after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which left hundreds of thousands of people dead or dying from radiation. The attacks were still fresh on the Japanese mind, even if it was 9 years later, and they didn't want to experience another nightmare like that again. The first Godzilla movie was originally a war movie set in World War II somewhere along the shores of Indonesia. However, that project went by the wayside and Toho needed a new idea to come for a new movie for another year. Now, on the way back home, producer Tomoyuki Tanaka had been brainstorming for idea after idea, with none of them working. However, he was flying over to Bikini Atoll, which recently has been a testing ground for Castle Bravo back in March of the same year, which itself has been preceded 8 years earlier by the Baker test in 1986, which left the entire atoll devastated already. So yeah, start thinking of a story of what would happen if a monster was mutated by the effects of the hydrogen bomb testing that America was doing at the time as a Cold War precaution against the Soviets. Now, his country being a victim of the atomic bombings 9 years earlier, he decided to mesh that and the testing into a monster that we all know today as Godzilla. Produced alongside Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai, Toho was more than eager to fund any movie now that their product has fallen through. However, it was met with worry because, for one thing, they thought it was released too soon after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and another thing, production on this movie was going to be very expensive and time-consuming, considering that Japan is in the post-war era trying to recover from its losses sustained in battle, so stop-motion was out of the question, and rubber was really hard to come by, so special effects director Eiji Tsuburaya decided to take a new approach to this and invent a new technique called suitmation, which is basically, you know, the guy inside of a rubber suit. Only in this case, the suit wasn't rubber. It was a mix of latex concrete poured into a mold shape. And it weighed 200 pounds. It was really heavy to move around. And at times, you would sweat so badly that you would fill up to 2 buckets of sweat with it. Stuntman Haru Nakajima decided to volunteer to don the suit, known as the Shodai Goji, or first generation Godzilla. Now the suit itself, before it was developed, it went through a really odd number of changes. Because for starters, Godzilla wasn't always that giant fire-breathing dinosaur we all know. It was actually started out to be more reptile-like and dinosaur-like in appearance. As you can see at the concept art up ahead, you can see the head is a lot more in common to a Tyrannosaurus Rex than his normal head would be. As for the body, looks pretty much the same, so this is pretty much almost the final design, only they decided to make a few changes afterwards. And here's another earlier prototype of Shodai Goji. Notice how you can see it's more dinosaur-like in appearance. It looks shorter, stubbier. You can apparently see the lack of spikes. Either they're severely downgraded from what you normally see, or they didn't plant them at all. And here's another prototype of Shodai Goji. he's closer to his final version with the spikes, but he's a bit chubbier in body structure, and the head still looks like a dinosaur. I mean, they've gone through a bunch of prototypes before settling on the final one. T-Rex. The dorsal plates that resemble a stegosaurus and the neck of an iguanodon. And the dorsal plates are, you could say, shaped like maple leaves. And, well, the black and white makes it look awesome. I mean, for starters, for one thing, it depends on your point of view, but in some shots it makes Godzilla look a lot more menacing. While in other shots he looks like he's smiling creepily. In this shot, as you can see, he's doing his more menacing stare, which looks awesome. Because that's how most of the movie should have been, because the writers of the script, I think it was Shinichi Sekizawa, I know that Ishiro Honda directed it, as he mans the helm for most of the Showa era of Godzilla. As wherever the writers may be, they wrote Godzilla with the goal in mind of him being an allegory of a nuclear war, specifically an atomic bomb raising destruction on Japan. Just 9 years after the bombings, SO4. Now, the way they do it is absolutely amazing. Something that there's no way that would be accepted into everyone's mainstream bow down to China stuff. Just watch the film for yourself and just see how amazing it is. Despite all the cheesiness, the trailers boasting of special effects that are better than American films, which is true at some point. But I could still see wires and stuff throughout. But it's normal. I mean, the black and white tried its best to cover it all up, but sometimes you can't cover it all up. You know what I mean? The film starts with a fishing boat getting destroyed in a bright flash of light, which, as all you know now, is in reference to the infamous Lucky Dragon incident when a couple of fishermen were fishing off the waters of the Bikini Atoll and they witnessed a Castle Bravo twist, and unfortunately they fell victim to radiation fallout exposed to it. Now, in the movie, they know that it sunk, and they try to send out about 2 or 3 rescue ships, but they all meet the same fate, sunk into the ocean. Now, there are some survivors in those rescue ships, and all they can tell is bright light has appeared and devoured their ships. Now, some natives actually made it to Odo Island, which is a remote island of Japan, where one of the village natives blames it on Godzilla, this mysterious creature that is said to be responsible for their lack of fishing, which coincidentally isn't happening at the same time. Now, he tells a story about Godzilla being a sea monster who ravages through all the land, and he decides to threaten to send the girl to the raft for being mocked at for superstition. Now, a really cool ceremony plays out showing how Godzilla is being either remembered or warded off. But it doesn't work apparently, because the village was destroyed in the middle of a hurricane, or a typhoon, as they call it in Japan. Now, while they think of it as a really strong hurricane, something else was behind it. And Dr. Kyohei Yamane, who is a paleontologist and a zoologist, decides to find out for himself. And he does not get a good welcome, as he sees the monster Godzilla firsthand, and he gets shocked by it and sees that he's actually a victim of the hydrogen tests, specifically the Castle Bravo one that the Americans were testing out back in March. Now, considering that the movie takes place in August, because, well, they say it in a dialogue, so it must have taken Godzilla about 5 months to mutate and become that you see on the screen. And, well, he decides to study it to see what else could this creature hold. However, the government had other ideas, as they want to kill him before they could let him analyze it. And while there's a bit of a satire of the mirroring the politics of that time, because considering it's 1954, when Japan just come off of the traumas of the atomic bomb, they're trying to rebuild relations, and they fear that spreading Godzilla's presence to the world will mean the end of them. So we get into a big fight, as you saw in the clip earlier. And, well, as the story goes, it's not pretty. I decided to send some chips to blow him up, but it doesn't work since he reappears off the coast of Shinagawa in a surprising a party ship. A couple days later, he makes landfall in what you now know as the infamous train station rampage, where, you know, he grabs a train, chews it up with his mouth, then drops it and he stomps on it. And, well, they know he's gonna come back, so they decide to install a big bunch of electrical towers with 50,000 volts of electricity. Now, in the American version, it's been modified to say 300,000 volts of electricity. They evacuate all of Tokyo as a precaution in case it fails, which naturally it did. However, instead of the usual rampages you see in Hollywood movies and whatnot, this one is downright terrifying. I mean, it may look cheesy now, but the first time you saw it, because when the first time I saw it, I didn't expect it to be that bone-chilling. I mean, the thousands of death screams by civilians when Godzilla fires his atomic breath got me startled. And, well, in the American version, they had even more, which sounds cheesy, but yet sounds terrifying when you feel it at the right point. And, well, in a side note, Dr. Serizawa, no, not the new one, but an old one wearing an eye patch, has stumbled upon this oxygen destroyer, he calls it, when he was doing some experiments with oxygen. He shows this to Emiko, which is Yamane's daughter, and she's horrified by it, as you'll see at the end, where you see a bunch of fish skeletons, which isn't really that unnerving, come to think of it, if you guys eat seafood. But still, I mean, the images you see in the aftermath of Godzilla's rampage are really similar to the ones you see in Hiroshima and Nagasaki and all that stuff. When you see a bunch of dead and dying and those ill with radiation poisoning, it's horrifying to watch. And to an extent, you actually kind of feel sorry for what they've all been through, considering, well, 2 atomic bombings, and they were about to be invaded full size. So Cerezo finally decides to use the oxygen destroyer. However, it's at the cost of his own life, as he does not want to see it used as a weapon for war. Considering that, well, you know, we breathe oxygen, and if a country were to get its hands on it, it would be catastrophic, as you can probably guess. But even though Godzilla has been killed, Yamane releases a really eerie piece of foreshadowing. If we don't stop nuclear testing now, at some point in the future, another Godzilla will appear. And it ends on that note. Now, when it was released, it got a bit of criticism and a bit of hate from the audience because, well, as you can see, it was released too soon after the bombings. And to see their home country once again destroyed, this time by a giant nuclear, radioactive, contaminated monster, which, in a way, is a victim himself. Because once you watch this movie numerous times, you'll probably want to ask yourself, was he always like this? Did they make him this way? Or other stuff. I mean, it's a harrowing tale about the dangers of testing and the consequences they would be if it was used as a weapon for war. As which you all know, it is disastrous, catastrophic. I mean, they thought it was exploiting the devastation that happened there. So, in response, fearing that the film was a flop, Toho decided to send this to America in 1955, and they played it in a Japanese theater where apparently some guy got a hold of the script and decided to make it into an American version of the film, which is what most G fans like me watch for the first time since it was widely available in America. Released in 1956 as Godzilla, the King of the Monsters. No, not that King of the Monsters, but an actual edit of the 1954 film starring Raymond Burr, and who plays as a reporter named Steve Martin, not related to the comedian. But he's a reporter who witnesses Godzilla's attack on Japan and lived to tell about it through a bit of stereotypical narratization and all that. But still, you gotta give him credit because he actually kind of interpreted events into a pretty cool scenario. I mean, shows us how powerful Godzilla can be, and even though it had a little difference, it's still a pretty good flick if you don't mind the cheesy dubbing and the bad acting. I mean, but his performance is solid, and it's a good way to market the movie to American audiences. The hit was such a smash that Toho even recognized how big of a hit it was in the States that it actually took the American edit and released it in Japan as Monster King Godzilla, which was shown in CinemaScope, which had a pretty awkward format, and it had Japanese subtitles because the screenplay was different from the original. And yes, they even put subtitles over the Japanese actors because how different the dub was. It was released over there in 1957. It was a surprise hit there too for a couple of weeks. Now, the American version runs about 60 minutes shorter than the Japanese version, even though it has new scenes incorporating Remember's character into the scenes, which they actually kind of do pretty well, considering the environment. The dubbing is atrocious, and, you know, typical stuff. It's still a pretty good hit, pretty good film to watch if you can't find a Japanese version anywhere. I mean, it left a legacy. I mean, both films left a legacy. The original Gojira set the standard for all future monster movies in the making, and also left behind a lot of influences that many other monster movies would use, especially the effects by Eiji Tsuburaya, which made it a lot more believable. I mean, stop motion was okay, same with King Kong, but when Eiji Tsuburaya was suitmation and making the monster into a giant rubber suit, or in this case concrete, was amazing. I mean, it was something that made it much more believable. However, production was a bit hectic. I mean, not just on Nakajima, but on Honda himself. I mean, filming took about 71 days, I think. And it was filmed under such hectic and hellish conditions that Ishiro Honda usually worked without any shirts on, which would come back to haunt him as he came back with a sunburn. Haruo Nakajima could only move for about 3 minutes in the suit before he passed out numerous times from heat exhaustion. And sometimes he almost drowned in those water scenes. So it was pretty hectic. Now, there was a rumor going in the back of the studio that there was someone nicknamed Godzilla who worked as a stagehand in the Toho Studios backlot. However, it was neither confirmed or denied, as no one actually came forward to claim that name. And such legend has stuck ever since. Now, Godzilla, the name means gorilla whale, because gorilla in Japan is basically how you say it here, only replace the L with an R, and whale is Kujira. So yeah, Gojira, gorilla whale, or as Toho likes to refer, a cross between a gorilla and a whale. I mean, it was a pretty nice name to it. And for the American version, there's another misconception where Toho was about to market it as Godzilla, as you hear in the King of the Monsters. And America decided to add a D to the name and name it Godzilla, and add the subtitle King of the Monsters. It is half true, considering that America did coin the term King of the Monsters with Godzilla, but they did not change from Godzilla to Godzilla. It was actually your correct translation, and Toho simply just nailed it. Despite claims proving otherwise, an official translation at the time did prove that Godzilla was the correct translation for Godzilla. So, yeah, all you flat earthers can just calm down now. Production was pretty, like I said, was pretty hectic, but the special effects looked amazing. I mean, the suit, the planes, the atomic breath. I mean, it actually looked pretty believable, aside from the stop motion sequence that Tsuburaya briefly experimented with, which was the scene where Godzilla was just swinging his tail before slamming into the Nichigeki theater. And, well, Nakajima got something out of it. He lost 20 pounds. And he stuck on for the role of Godzilla until 1972 when he retired. And the screenplay was actually only written in 11 days, and it was only 50 pages long. It originally had Yamane as, well, a recluse, similar to Dr. Serizawa today. And Godzilla was more like you saw in the pictures, as a more animalistic-like creature who fed on fish and native girls, like in the final version. I mean, it was pretty different before they started adding the love triangle, and originally Godzilla was about to appear in the hurricane, but decided to obscure his appearance until he appears in the back of a mountain. Now, like you see here, Godzilla was way different from his final version. He was originally docile, monster-like in appearance. Now he looks like a jagged dinosaur with spikes on his back, which was awesome. Yet tragic at the same time, considering the tone of the film. And also, like I said, the suit was made of a mixture of latex and concrete, weighed 200 pounds, and it was actually brown instead of green, like the American poster would put, or even the Bandai toy of Godzilla's 6-inch figure. This portrays it as charcoal gray, which wasn't exactly correct. The famous war was actually something pretty simple. Samurai Ifuguro just dipped his hand inside of a leather glove, drew resin and rub it through the strings of a contrabass, and then he altered the pitch and the speed of the playback. He experimented with it until he found the roar he was looking for. That was pretty unique in a way, and it's pretty haunting, especially the final roar. Now, before Tsuburaya settled on stop motion, Suitmation, he decided to experiment with stop motion, but eventually he quit that way after time consuming and all stuff. And it would take 7 years to do that. Eventually, after about 71 days or so of production and post-production and special effects, the movie was released on November 3, 1954. To what I said earlier, mixed reviews and people think it was a bomb, and Japan pointed to America and stuff like that. While over there in America, lyrics were treated as a huge hit, and think of it as one of the best monster movies ever made. And that was what Toho needed to boost ticket sales back home. Even Honda himself stated that the first film critics to appreciate Godzilla goes in the US. And critics over there also accurately analyzed the film as a depiction of the horrors of the atomic bomb. And because of that, critics in Japan decided to reevaluate and re-see the film. It gained more respect as time went on through that. It set the standard for monster films in the future. It's one of the best Japanese films ever made. It was even nominated for Best Picture, which would be one of only 2 monster films to do so. The other one being Shin Gojira, which won. But the first time they didn't, because they lost to Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. Now it was pretty hard to gain access to the original copy for years in America until Criterion Collection released it in 2006 under the title Gojira. They would keep re-releasing it in 2009 and in 2012 and also in 2016 with an awesome cover art showing Godzilla just looking out into the horizon with planes and everything. I mean, they could have used it as a promotion stunt. You just can't deny that this looks awesome yet terrifying at the same time. It's surprising that this film at the time was the most expensive Japanese film ever made. Filmed at a budget and cost of built 10 billion yen, I think, as it said in the trailer. Also known over here as about $1 million, maybe $1.5 million. I thought it was going to be they were going to go broke over this. But it ended up being a box office smash. And it gained a bit of recognition around the world. I mean, the release of King of Monsters 2 years later would make Godzilla into an icon as recognizable as Superman. It has seen countless spoofs and a bunch of parodies, and heck, even an Italian company botched its attempt to turn it into color in 1977, which is now the infamous Godzilla, which I'm glad I haven't seen, because I've seen colorized versions of this film, photos and clips, that look better than that awfulness. What has turned out from a failed war movie became a really famous and awesome monster movie. A harrowing tale of the dangers of nuclear war and testing, to show how monsters in their way are their own victims. They're too big, something are too small, something are too powerful, and they didn't ask to be like this. That is a tragedy, said by Ishiro Honda. And if seen enough times, the audience ends up starting to care for it, as if we're another human being exposed to harmless accidents. They are a must-watch for any type of fan. You don't have to be a G fan to watch this. You just have to watch this before you die, because it is that good. Because it's not just an ordinary monster movie. It is a harrowing tale of the dangers of nuclear testing and war, as well as the start of a new genre in filmmaking, new techniques, and most of all, a new legacy that would last for 65 years and counting. So find this film somehow and watch it to its entirety. You're going to see why it's heralded as one of the best in cinema history.